Hi guys, in this video I want to talk about the new model component released in Weweb. So if you want to show any sort of models or pop-ups when a user interacts with your app, this is a tutorial which you should follow. By the way, my name is Abby. I've been doing tutorials for Weweb and Sano for the past few months. And yeah, if you're brand new to the channel, do subscribe, like, and check out my other Weweb videos. I'm pretty sure it will be helpful if you are learning Weweb. Okay, so for the all guys who were already using Weweb to show models, we used to have a component called model, actually a section called model. So if I try to add a section and just type in model, here you can see now there are two type of models. There's a dialog model component and then there's a section model. I'm not going to talk about this because this is being depreciated. This is the new component which everybody should be using starting now. This is much better in terms of control and using it again and again in multiple locations. Okay, so how can you use this? First of all, you gotta drag and drop it inside a section or a container or a div, whatever you're using. So I'm going to drag and drop it in, and it's going to say just dialog, and inside this dialog you will have multiple containers. We have a trigger container, a content container, and an overlay container. Before I go into these sections, let's just click on this dialog and figure out what is available on the right side. All right, so we have the ability to select the type of model. So let me just preview the current default dialog, and if I click on click me, it's going to show a model, right? So this is the default setup. Now if I click in this close button or anywhere outside, it's going to close that model off. That's fine. Now how do I control the stuff inside the model? How can I control when this model shows up and when this model disappears? All that can be done inside the component itself. So if I click on the component, here you can see you can select different types. So if let me just click on toggle, which is an easier way to, without clicking on the trigger. If I click on toggle, it's going to show the model, and if I just click on toggle again, it will disappear. So let's keep the toggle up for now, and from type we are going to select sheet. So then you can see the difference. I don't know why would anybody use sheet, but maybe there are use cases. Yeah, so there are that's the type. And side, you can select where this appears. This is also pretty cool. Bottom, and I'll keep it at center. If I select custom, I guess I can, yeah. Oh, what am I doing? I was messing with side and then I switched to align. Well, now you get a preview of how both side and align works, right? And animation, self-explanatory. I'm not going to waste time. Basically, you select what the animation would be when a model is being rendered. Okay, then the direction. That's the direction of the animation. All right. So if you select bottom, it will slide up from the bottom. See, it's sliding in from the bottom. Animation duration, self-explanatory. Animation easing, yeah. Prevent scrolling, don't really know what that is. Let's check whether users can scroll the page when dialog is open. Yeah, so if that is turned on, if your section or your page has a scroller already, and you try to scroll, it will scroll. If you prevent this, then it won't scroll. That's all. It's very simple. Escape key to close, that's a good thing. So like people are used to pressing escape key when they want to escape out of models or websites or even life in general. You just want to escape by pressing escape key. How cool that is. Okay, then the trigger. If you turn this on, pay close attention to the left hand side here. If I turn this on, then you get a trigger box. All right. If you turn this off, then if you turn this off, it disappears. All right. So what exactly is a trigger box? A trigger box is the kind of box where, or the container where, whatever you drop inside this will act as a trigger to show the model. That's all. Very simple, right? I personally don't like it, but I wanted to explain what is available. Now let me delete the text. What if I drag and drop maybe an icon? All right, so icon, if I drag and drop it in here, whatever is inside this trigger container, that will act as in fact a trigger, right? So if I click on this, it will show up. But most of you guys, you don't want to put your button inside a trigger because you will be using model in an application where a button would be somewhere else in your application, and when people click on that button, that's when you need to load up or render the model. All right, so most of you, I guess, won't be using this trigger thing, so I'm gonna turn it off. And don't worry, I'll show you how we can bind other buttons to show this model. All right, so let's disable trigger for now. So how do I do that? Go to trigger, set this to off, and overlay, if you turn it on, then you see an overlay, so like a dim background that's all over your background, which will separate, like it will add depth to your model, so your model will be separate. I highly recommend you turn this on. And if you want to customize how model looks, like the color and everything, you can just click on the overlay, and here you can see the color. If you want to go for deep red. Okay, so yeah, that are the options available. Now the biggest question, how do I control this model with buttons that are outside the current like dialog component? All right, so I'm going to toggle this off, and what I'm going to do is I am going to add another button. All right, so normally if you were already using Weweb, you might have known we used to control the display of models using variables. So a variable needs to be true, then we bind that variable to the model. That's how we used to show it. If you are new to Weweb, then whatever I just mentioned, it doesn't affect you. Like, you can just forget that. But this is just for the old folks who used to use Weweb. That's how we used to do it, but now we need to use component actions. So let me name this dialog as model or test model. All right, so I'm going to name the model component as test model, you can see here, and then we have a button. I just drag and drop this button, right? And so how can I trigger component actions to show this model? I'm gonna add a workflow, and this is going to be on click, and you will search for component action. All right, and here it will show all the components that are available for this scope. So right now I just have the test model I just added, but if you have multiple components, even the components you create, all of them will be available here. If you select that, then there is multiple options. So toggle means if you click on it once, it will show. If you click on the button again, it will just reverse whatever was already there. So similar to the toggle button. And if you want to set it to open, then that button will only open. And if you want to close it, then close. Okay, I'm going to set it to toggle, close, and I'm going to preview. Now if I click on it, the model is here, right? And the model has the component actions built in to automatically close the model if user clicks outside. You already learned how to do that. And this close button is also designed to do it. Now, so that's how you can trigger a model from outside the components trigger section. All right, I don't really know who will use triggers. Most of you will be using or showing your models like this. Now, I used a button to show the model, but some of you might be using something else, maybe a slider. When the slider reaches a specific number, you might be showing a model. Whatever your use case is, you can use this component action inside your workflow to toggle or show the model. So if you just want to show the model, then do open. Okay, now let's see how we can edit the contents inside the model. So to do that, obviously you need to either preview and show the model, then edit, or a very handy feature is click on the toggle button and it will show the toggle. And just like any other section or dividers or containers, you can edit the model. So I'm gonna name it test model. You can pretty much customize it however you want. It's not required that you need to have a standard format like this, but yeah, it is what it is. Now there are some there are some actions which you can do inside the model itself, which will trigger a bunch of actions. Like for example, this close button here. So if I click on the close button here, you can see, and if I switch to workflow, the workflow that is being done is you're just running a component action, right? So from the action, if you select close, that will close the model. So component action will be available inside the workflow builder of the component. So provided you are accessing something inside the component, and for example, I probably might have confused you, sorry. So what if I want to close this model when people click on continue, right? So I would just add a workflow, and from here you don't go to execute workflow because the component action is already built in. You can see toggle open close. So I would just select close, and what does that mean? If I click on close, it will close it out. So button to execute the component action, which will show this pop-up, and if I click on continue, it will just close it off. All right, so that is all about the new model component. I actually like this model component better than the previous one, because in the previous model we used to have the variable thing, which I wasn't really a fan of, but this one looks really great. Obviously the guys at Weweb are going to drop a better tutorial than this one, but I just wanted to bring this out because I saw a lot of people in the community are having some confusion. So I hope this video helps you understand the new model component. With that said, that's a wrap for today. Speak to you in the next video.